What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV with your host, Dano here, giving you the best content that you're going to find on the internet. If you stay for 10 minutes, I promise you're going to stay for the entire episode because we have this scary guy here with us today, giving us an insight into his journey, into his life lessons that he's learned, and all of the great things, and not scary things, or maybe scary things that he has to offer. So, Scary, what do you have to say to everybody before we get started today?
Well, I have to say this, Dano. I just barely have my eyes open right now. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you, dude. You look really hip in that picture right there on the camera. I just love it, man. I love your hair. I wish I had your hair.
See, man, I wish I had your hair because I probably, it's just less maintenance. You just wake up out of bed and you get to come on television shows whenever you want, But awesome. Thank you so much for being here. If you're watching live or on the replay, thank you so much to my positivity posse. You guys are amazing. And Scary's all the way in England, so that's why it's 2 o'clock in the morning over there. So we had our mutual friend B wake his butt up to come here onto the show. But everybody, like, share, do whatever you got to do to raise your vibrations because it's time to have another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Let's get it, everybody. Everybody, like I said, to another episode. I'm super excited about this episode because we're going to be breaking down barriers and maybe some things that might be going on within ourselves when it comes to maybe, judging other people or judging a book by its cover. But we're going to get into that and why we do that and how we can combat it because that's not a great thing to have in our lifetimes, right? I mean, it's natural. It's not natural. It's a learned behavior that we can change. And me and Scary are going to really dive into that to really talk about what it takes to change our mindsets for the better because it's not an easy journey, right? I mean, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it and everybody would be living their dream life, which it is. We are able to accomplish that 1,000%. But it's going to take a little bit of effort and just being aware and conscious and holding ourselves accountable to make sure that we are fighting through all of our learned behaviors, whether they're learned from our families or from society, communities, whatever it is that we are in this world. We do have the power to fight through it. And one of the things that I want to talk to you about before Scary comes on is accountability and just being disciplined, right? Those are some of the hardest things that you're ever going to encounter in this world because they require a lot of willpower, and not every day is going to be the day that we feel like doing the thing that we set out to do, right? If you want to lose a lot of weight, you're going to have to be disciplined and hold yourself accountable to not eat sweets, not eat food with, a lot of calories, and, going to the gym as well and working out. And all of the things that we do want in this world, no matter how big or how small, we have to be responsible for our actions, right? And being accountable for ourselves, that takes a great degree of being honest with ourselves, and that's something that might be hard to do because we might be scared of what we're going to find if we go deep within ourselves or if we're honest to ourselves because that's maybe the way that we've been trained or things like that. But we're going to talk about all of that stuff with Scary because he is such a motivational guy, and I don't want to say motivational, inspirational as well, because he's going to give you the keys to change whatever it is that's inside of you, right? And that's the biggest difference between motivation and inspiration. Motivation is really an external force. You can think of that as watching a video on YouTube or, even calling Weekly Dose of Dano motivational because the stories that we talk about and, all the fun times that we do have will inspire us to change for the better to achieve our dream lives. But Scary is definitely inspirational because he's going to give you, like I said, the internal components and the keys to make sure that we are achieving our dream lives. And it's not going to be easy, but today we're going to really dive into that. So please have that level of accountability with yourself and have that discipline in your life. And I can talk till I'm blue in the face and give you 30,000 ways and strategies in order for you to do it. But just understand the biggest one that I can give you is when you're going about your everyday lives, you have to think about the main purpose or why you're setting out to accomplish the things that you do want to accomplish, right? If you want to stop smoking because you just, you have kids or you have a family and you want to be there for them and to be able to provide for them, you have to keep that at the forefront of your mind as to why you're going about doing everything that you're doing. Maybe we'll use the same example with smoking. You're getting your rehab or you're switching that out with good habits. But no matter what it is, please keep that reason at the forefront of your mind for whatever it is that you're doing. And that's enough for me because we have a lot to cover with the Scary Guy. And yes, you are able to call him the Scary Guy because that's his legal name. And he's going to talk about why he changed it, how he changed it, and all the great things that he has to offer for us. Not even just tips. It's going to be with the positive energy that he's going to bring. If you didn't already hear it in his voice and all the good joys and laughter, and you can just see it in his face as well. Because as we all know, the eyes are the windows to the soul. When you have a clean soul, positive soul, and you're working on it, you'll see a reflection of what that looks like. And Scary is literally the epitome of that as well. So I'm really excited to bring him on for you guys. So everybody, please drop some fire emojis, drop some eagle emojis, hashtag love. Do something to welcome Scary onto the show. Scary, stop dozing off back there, man. It's time to come onto the show.
That's fabulous. I love your opening, dude. I mean, you know what? You did it so well. I think I'm just going to go back to bed.
You know what? All right, you get a 10-minute nap, so ready starting now. So everybody, while he takes his nap, no, I'm just kidding. We can't do that. The people need to hear your story because it's absolutely incredible, man. And like I said, thank you for coming on. So you know what? We're going to start out with something new. This is a fan question, and I think this is a great segment and a great segue into who you are and what you do. So we actually have a comment here from Jeanette. And like I said, we're switching it up for today. So here it is. Scary, where did your name come from?
It actually it was given to me, believe it or not, in 1996. In 1996 in Tucson, Arizona. I cannot believe it, man. That's like so many years ago now. Somebody in the competitor in the tattoo business, because I had 3 tattoo shops in Tucson, Arizona. Doesn't look like it though, does it?
No.
I had 10 artists working for me, and I was a happy, sassy tattoo artist. I rode my Harley Davidson to work every day. I got up around 9 o'clock in the morning, not 2 a.m. And I got to tell you, I rode my Harley to work, and I went in my shop and I turned up my rock and roll. And if you didn't laugh at my jokes when you came through the front door, guess what? I told you where the sun didn't shine.
Oof.
Yeah, right. Well, then there was 22 tattoo shops in Tucson, Arizona, Dano, at that time. And a competitor in the tattoo business, I don't know him, and I still don't know who he is. He ran a full-page ad in the newspaper, and he said, "Are you tired of dealing with scary guys with war paint facial tattoos?" And he was talking about me, and I thought, why would anybody call me the scary guy? Why would he call me that? I can't believe that. I'm a good guy, not a bad guy. That's how I saw myself. But the first thought that came to my mind, Dana, was, what am I going to do to get this guy back? You know, revenge. I thought, well, I'll jump in my hot rod Lincoln. I'll find out where that guy lives. I'll go over to his house and I'll run over his dog. Well, I got to get him back. Well, I got to get him back. He's labeling me and calling me a name in the newspaper, And I thought, no, that's not bad enough. I'll go over to his house and I'll whack off his kneecaps with a baseball bat. And I thought that ought to get him. And then what happened was, and I looked in the mirror and I said, no, I can't do all that. I'm not a violent guy. I'm a good guy. And when I was stepping up on my pedestal, bragging and gloating about how great I was as a human being, my life started to flash in front of me. And that's when I realized I was a name caller, a hater. I could stereotype and categorize people at will. I masked my whole life in sarcasm and humor. Now, I'm sure you've got listeners out there that don't do sarcasm or humor. But not me. I used a lot of sarcasm and humor, and I covered up all my behavior with my humor. I made it look good. We could go to a party and party together, and I could rip you to shreds at the party in front of everybody, and I could even get you laughing at yourself. But I was still picking on you, finding fault with you with my negative behavior. See. So with that realization, I jumped down off my pedestal and went back to my warehouse. And I told all my friends I'm packing my bags. And they said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to travel the world to help people see each other differently from the inside out. And they said, how are you going to do that? And I said, I haven't got a clue. But I can tell you one thing now. And they said, what's that? I think I just lived 43 years of my life running my mouth, calling myself a good guy, living a lie. So I was living a lie for 43 years, calling myself a good guy, yet I was putting everybody down and laughing about it on the way to the bank.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I said, well, I'm going to have to do something about that. So I took the name, the scary guy, and I bought the back of the newspaper that he ran the ad in, and I put my picture in the middle of the paper, and I put the tattoo shop home of the scary guy. And I used it in a positive way for marketing my tattoo business.
I love that. Taking something that is very serious, and you would think it's a bad thing. You use that in the fuel to promote your brand and your business and to help people out. And something that you just mentioned was the tattoo portion of everything, and we're gonna get a little deep right here. Do you think that when you got those tattoos, right? Did you do that to kind of call yourself out to say, well, listen, you just mentioned you were being, judgmental and, prejudice, or, whatever, all the things that you said that you were. Was that a way of calling yourself out to say, you know what, I'm going to take this and use my tattoos to call myself out. So whenever I am being like this, these tattoos will be a reminder of this is how I'm acting.
Well, I wish I could say that was the truth. I think I got myself into this position because of being a tattoo shop owner, having 10 artists working for me. And I never ever envisioned that I'd be on that I'd be live on a television show with your television show, from England, looking like this. I didn't plan it ahead, I just tattooed myself because they told me a long time ago in the tattoo industry, you never tattoo your hands, neck, or your face as a tattoo artist. That's what I was told. And I said, well, wait a minute. I left the computer industry selling computers for Unisys Corporation, big computer company, to become a tattoo artist so that I could live free and express myself freely. So now I'm in this different world of art and tattooing, and they're telling me, hey, here's the rules. And I'm going, wait a minute. I came into the tattoo world because there were no rules. I thought I could just be me, So I went ahead and tattooed my face because they told me I couldn't.
Wow, talk about being spiteful, right?
Well, I don't know if it's a good idea, but that's what I did back then, 30 some odd years ago. I tattooed. I said, nobody's going to tell me what I can do with my body. So I went ahead and tattooed my face. Well, me waking up to who I really was and my behavior for the first 43 years, I woke up looking like this. I didn't get tattoo my face and then go, well, I think I'll become the scary guy. No. I became the scary guy after I looked like this. And I went, that wasn't planned like that. I just went, whoa, wait a minute. Now I got to go out in the real world and I got to talk to real people about being real and kind and loving and caring and still be a man, because that's hard to do. It's hard to be a
Yeah.
man. Yeah, no, it's hard to be a man. It's hard to be a tough guy with love and compassion in your heart. And I thought, how am I going to do this? I'm the scary guy. Everybody knew me as the scary guy. I've already talked to schools a few times. I woke them up a little bit to the fact that you don't have to be a rotten human being to be okay or to be tough. You could be a kind person. So I had to figure out how I was going to be like that. But anyway, the name, the scary guy, at the time, I didn't realize it, but into my journey of changing who I was as a human being, it represented the first 43 years of my life.
Wow.
The name
And
caller,
that's not
the
easy.
stereo, running my mouth, stereotyping and categorizing. That was who I was for the first 43 years. So I changed it legally to the scary guy because it represents my life in the beginning. Now, and who would want to go see a guy called the loving guy? Nobody. Even
Nobody.
today, no. If I went, hey, who's coming to the school? Who's coming to the corporation? Who's going to do the speech this year? I'm talking to 600 head teachers in Liverpool, England. Believe it or not, the end of the month. Can you believe this? 600 head teachers are coming to see me on stage. And I'm thinking, they wouldn't want to come to see the loving guy. They'd want to see what's this scary guy all about. I want to go check him out. So they're more attracted to the negative image and the negative behavior than they are to the positive. I think that's
The
the
news
truth.
media, the news outlets. What was that? Talking about being attracted to the negativity, right? That's all they push. And it's so refreshing to see that you are actually using that and shifting it towards something that is actually beneficial towards yourself, towards your communities, the people around you, and everybody else that actually sees who you are. And when it comes to like all your tattoos, man, I know you have so many of them. Is there any of them like that? Maybe it might be the ones in your face or the ones in your arms or your legs or wherever you got them. Are there any of them that you would actually want to change looking back on it now, or would you just keep them all the same?
Well, no, I don't have any swastikas, and I don't have any. No, a lot of people ask me that question. Do I have any really horrible negative tattoos that I put on my body? No, because I didn't see myself like that. I didn't. Even when I ran my mouth with humor and sarcasm, and I put people down and called them names and made fun of them, I didn't see myself negative. I never once saw myself as a bad guy. I never once lived my life that way. If somebody called me a name, that was the bad guy. So if I call them a name back, or I found fault with them, or I picked on them, mine was okay. My
It
my
was
behavior
justified,
was,
right?
well, that's how we see it, isn't it? We see it
Yeah.
as whatever they do to me, as that's the bad guy over there doing that to me. But
I
if I
want
do
to.
it back, I'm not a bad guy. I'm okay because I'm just defending myself. You get it?
Yeah, and we got to take that stereotype or that line of thinking, and I know you can agree to this 100%, but we have to flip that to say, okay, instead of thinking we are the victims, you have to think everybody that says and, takes their actions is only a reflection of themselves, right? So if they're spewing that negativity and they're calling you names or they're doing whatever, you have to realize that's just a reflection of who they are as a person, which if you want to call it projecting, if you want to call it just them being a jerk off, understand it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. And Scary, we're going to really jump into this stuff and go further into the mindsets of everything. But first, we just have to hear a quick word from our sponsors for about our commercials, and then we're going to come back and we're going to jump even further into the mindset of everything, shift it from the tattoos to really the physical to the non-physical, which is our mindsets and our souls and what we need to do to get to that level where we want to be. So here's a quick word from our sponsors. Don't go anywhere. Like, share, do whatever you got to do to keep your vibrations high, because we're vibing with my guy, the Scary Guy. Let's get it, everybody.
Takes a village about keeping our families together.
God bless this organization.
So, everybody, that was just a quick word from our sponsors. Thank you to our sponsors at Takes a Village Housing for sponsoring Weekly Dose of Dano TV and making this possible to happen all the way in London. Scary, and to my Positivity Posse, thank you guys for being here for today. But, Scary, let's talk about really the mindset of everything and what it takes in order for us to really get to that next level. A big focal point that I think a lot of people use nowadays is social media. And as you were saying, it may not always be rainbows and sunshines and butterflies on there. But when it comes to social media, how often do you use it? And what are some, precautionary measures or some strategies that we can take in order to make sure that we're not using social media to kind of fuel our hate?
Well, I could tell you how I did it. I mean, I'm by no means perfect, but I got to tell you, I looked in the mirror at that time in my life and I thought, wait a minute, I'm no different than the guy that ran the ad in the paper about me. I just didn't use newspapers yet. So I thought, how am I going to change my life? This is really important. I don't even know. I don't have a role model. My dad was absent in my life. He was a World War II veteran, and he was a silent, angry man, really angry. So I tiptoed around him my whole childhood on eggshells, never. His philosophy of kids were to be seen, not heard. So,
Wow.
yeah, well, that's probably not unusual in today's world. Even there's a lot of angry men out there, or they're absent. So I thought, well, that's probably not a very good role model for me to go ahead and shift to. So I looked around and I thought, well. And I came across my mom, and I went, wait a minute, I never heard my mom say one rotten negative thing about another human my whole life. And I went, how in the heck did she do that? So I decided at that exact moment in time to put myself on a thing called the 7-day, 7-night challenge. And I'm going to put all your listeners on the 7-day, 7-night challenge. Now, that you may not like it, but I don't care. You've got to start looking in the mirror at yourself. Stop looking outside for the solutions. The solutions live on the inside. That's where they live. On each and every one of us have that power. I don't think we realize it all the time because we're so infected or affected by what comes at us. We believe it belongs to us, So I created the 7-day, 7-night challenge. And Dano, the reason I came up with 7 days is because I wanted to know on the 8th day that I could go back to my old behavior in case I didn't like the new one, So I said, okay, here it is. For 7 days, 7 nights, don't say one negative word about another human on the planet. And for 7 days, 7 nights, don't call another person a name other than their own.
Did you succeed in that the first time that you did that, the 7-day challenge?
Yeah. Well, I've been on it for 26 years.
What started at 7 days? You're telling me you made it 26 years?
Yeah, I didn't quit. I went past 8. I went past 9. I started feeling good about myself. Although in the very, very beginning, I got to tell you, everybody thought I was sick. Or they thought I was ill. And there's something wrong with that guy because he ain't talking. Because you got to remember one thing. Every time I open my mouth, I use sarcasm and I masked it with humor. So I was completely, the first 7 days, I was silent. I didn't speak because I was afraid that every time I opened my mouth, it was going to be a negative thing about another human being or somebody else. So here I am, silent, and they all going, hey, are you okay, man? You're pretty quiet. I said, yeah, I'm on the 7-day challenge. They go, what's this 7-day challenge thing? I said, well, it's really hard to do. It's really difficult for me to stop running my mouth, but my mom did it, so if she could do it, I'm going to do it. And that's what I hung on to. I looked at my mom and I went, wow, that's incredible. I remember sitting in a restaurant booth with my mom before I changed my life. And I'd be having lunch with my mom, and in the door would walk an obese person, a woman or a man, it didn't matter, a fat person. They'd walk through the door, and I'd elbow my mom. I said, Mom, check it out, check out that tubby human being coming through. And she'd look over at me, and she'd go, knock it off. What's wrong with you? Just stop that. You don't have any couth. What's wrong with you? And I go, oh, and I kind of put my head down a bit and chuckle a little bit, and then I'd stop doing it, and I thought, that's how my mom was. she just loved and accepted all people. And I thought, well, if she can do that, I'm going to put myself on the 7 day 7 night challenge. And so now it's 26 years later, and I use that. So I challenge all of you guys out there, and Dano, I challenge you. Although you sound really, really upbeat and positive all the time, I'll bet there's moments in your life where the negative thoughts blast through your brain cells, and I'll bet money you want to let loose with some kind of verbiage out of your mouth. I bet that's not uncommon for
Yeah,
everyone.
no, of course it's not. I do my best. What I try to do is, like you said, I don't speak it into existence. So if those thoughts do come up, because obviously, like you said, we're not perfect and people will get under our skin every once in a while, I catch it in my mind. And even though I don't speak it, if I think it, it doesn't have as much power as if you were to speak it, right? So if you feel yourself getting, aggravated and you want to say something to somebody and you know it's not going to serve yourself any purpose or the person that you're arguing with or talking with any purpose, then there's no point of even to say it, because like you were saying, Scary, earlier, a lot of people want to do that because, they want to bring you down to where they are. So let's switch the roles. You just want to say that to that person to bring them down because you're not feeling that you're in a high vibration. So what I like to do is 100%. I like to catch it at the thought. And yes, those thoughts do creep in because we like to call those intrusive thoughts. Think about it. I know you've probably experienced this too, where you're standing on a bridge or like something that's very tall, and then the intrusive thoughts is like, oh, like what happens if I jump, or I can make this jump, things like that. It happens, but as long as you don't act on it and as long as you don't speak it, that's how I really like to filter it out. And one more point to you too is, I don't know if I could do that for 26 years. Number one, because I'm 26 years old, so I would have done it ever since my conception to right now, where we're speaking in this moment in time. So I don't think I would be able to do that.
Well, you don't want to know what I used to do. You want to know what I used to do when I had the thoughts in my brain, and somebody would speak, and I would be. And I used to use the words, they'd make me mad. I always used to use those words, make me mad. And I'd say, wait a minute. I'd stop in my mind and I'd say, I'm angry. I'm pissed off right now. And something they're saying. And rather than lash out about it, I would ask myself, why am I feeling this way? I'd ask myself the question, what's going on inside of me that would cause me to feel anger or frustration or upset about what it is they just said? So I had to go into that whole process and figure out, what is it they're doing or saying that's causing me to feel that way? And then I started analyzing it, see? And then I went, wait a minute, that came from them. That didn't come from me. Yeah, I heard it and I saw it, but that I didn't create it, see? And I went, oh, wait a minute. That came from them. They created it in their brain, and it came out of their mouth in the form of words, and it flew towards me, and I get it. I'm just wholesale believing everything they say is the truth, and that's how I became that way. So I stopped.
The reaction too, yeah. It's when you were doing it, you were to just say, well, not everything needs a reaction, and then you came to grips with that as well. But is there one more thing that like you just said, you would give them the reaction, but did you realize too that it was things that happened in your childhood that would kind of reignite that?
Oh yeah, everything that I became in the 43 years before when I started changing my life was all learned behavior. It was everything was learned behavior. I started learning right away when I was a little baby, and my mom and dad, or probably my mom, not my dad so much, changing my diaper. They were teaching me right there. I don't remember the lessons, but I was watching and listening as a little baby, and then I grew up. So my mom and dad were my first teachers, and they were my biggest teachers and my most influential teachers early on in my life. My life was shaped in such a way. So I learned all these different kinds of reactionary behavior from my mom and dad the very first thing. Then it was reinforced by my friends and my peers and schools and all the other people as I grew older. So I had to I reverse engineered my whole life. I went back and looked, why am I that way? Rather than going, that guy's a jerk. He's an idiot for opening his mouth. I wish he'd just shut his big fat flappy mouth because he's an idiot and a jerk like I used to do. No, I went, wait a minute. That's that all of his words and all of his actions represent who he is, period. He's
100%.
creating, he's creating it all. So it's coming from him and it's about him. So I had to figure out how that energy and how those words as energy would infect me and why I would simply react to them in the way that I did. And the other part about this, Dano, is as a man, and I hesitate talking about men and women today, but I'm I'm a man and here I am. You know what? If I don't shoot my mouth off back at somebody that calls me a name or gets down on my case, guess what? I must be a weak dude. I'm weak. I'm a weakling. No, I'm not a tough guy. So a lot of tough guys out there, what they'll do is they'll shoot their mouth off to prove they're tough and to defend themselves. And the bottom line is you're just being as weak as the other guy.
Yes, 100%. A lot of people don't understand that. Oh, thank you so much for bringing that up because I know here, obviously, you've been in the States and you live in the States. The people, I think, that live in the hood, they kind of have that mentality where they feel like they need to prove something, or like you said, I need to prove I'm not weak. That if you're just stooping down to their behavior and their level, you're just doing the same thing that they're doing, just in your own way. But that's not truly the sign of a strong man. Strong men are silent. Think about a king, right? If the jesters or his messengers were to come into his building or his castle and they say, sir, what's going on? XYZ happened, they're afraidful. Think about what a king would do, right? They would sit in their throne, chest up in the air, take time to think about what their reaction or what their words are going to say is, and then they acted. But nowadays, people are just so knee-jerk reaction. And, we have to go to just one more commercial, but we're going to talk about that, how you develop that confidence, that poise to make sure that you just weren't constantly reacting to everything that was going on to you. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. We just have to hear one more quick word from our sponsors. And like I said, don't go anywhere because Scary is giving you guys the gold bars and the keys to really unlock the kingdom of peace. So we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
You can navigate the legal and emotional journey of divorce and exit a marriage.
Did you know you can apply to over 50 historically black colleges and universities at the same time for only $20? You can with the Common Black College application. Hello, my name is Robert Mason. I'm the founder of the CBCA. Students around the world have completed the application and received multiple acceptance letters, financial aid packages, and scholarship offers. So visit our website at commonblackcollegeapp.com to apply now. And don't forget to pick up the book, Get Educated, The Man Behind the Common Black College Application. Thank you, and get educated.
Everybody, that was the second sponsor of the day. Thank you to all of our sponsors for sponsoring Weekly Dose of Dano TV to make this incredible content happen for you guys and for me and for Scary as well to come together and all work towards being the best version of ourselves. And yes, that does sound cliche, but it is absolutely the truth. And Scary, let's dive back into that. So we were just talking about, if you're tuning in just now, about how not everything needs a reaction and what steps that we need to take to make sure that we are in ourselves and confident. And Scary, take that away. What are some of the practices that you do, that you've learned, or that you've taught in order to make sure we aren't reacting to every single negative thing that happens in our lives?
Well, understanding that I was brought up that way and I was learned behavior and reactionary, I moved from reactionary to responsive, which is different. I went, instead of reacting to everything around me, I went through and I processed everything, and then I made a decision to who I wanted to be, no matter what came at me, no matter what they said, and no matter what they did. I realized at that moment in time that I'd been reacting to everything like a sore thumb. When you hit your thumb with a hammer. Have you ever done that, Dano, where you accidentally slipped and you're hammering a nail and you hit the end of your thumb? And I'm telling you right now, that gets a reaction right now. I mean, you may not use some appropriate language, but I guarantee you this: you're going to say something that's not so nice. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. Here's the thing. That thumb is sore for a long time. So every time you touch it on something, it reminds you of that guy or that woman or that person that said something that caused you to feel that way. Well, I went from that process to a responsive. So I started to learn how to respond to the negative versus react. Because every time I reacted, I put more negative out. So I always thought I was a good guy, see, because they deserved it. Remember that they deserve it. They're the first ones that said it and did it to me. They made me mad. Well, that's putting all the power and the control in the other person's hands. Always. And that's what I always did. I gave them all the power. And by the way, two negatives don't make a positive, but that's not how I saw it. So I was just as negative as the guy that would shoot his mouth off when I reacted to him. When I stopped reacting and I learned how to become responsive, who had the problem?
Them, because if they're
they got a problem now.
If they're not getting that reaction from you, then eventually they'll just stop and then go away, and they'll leave you alone.
Yeah. Well, listen to this one. This is what I discovered. It's more important today that I really truly hear what's around me and I process it in my mind as energy, and not and that's more important. What I do with what I hear versus what I do with what they say. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, but we're all focused on what comes out of the guy's mouth, see, and that's the reactionary thinking. No, I'm gonna be more concerned about what I do with what they say in my powerful mind. That's where the power lives, not here, not in their mouth. The power never lived in their mouth. I always thought it did. But every time I shoot my mouth off back, I became him instantaneously. And I thought, I'm being used. I'm being used by the negative, and I don't even realize that I'm sleepwalking through it. And I went, okay, no more shooting my mouth off, no more reacting. If I'm angry or frustrated, I got to go back to the books, look in the mirror and say, what caused me to feel that way? And I re-engineered my life. I redesigned it from the inside out. And it's taken me 26 years, really, quite frankly. I'm still working on it. I told you I was on the 7-day, 7-night challenge for 26 years. Well, that doesn't mean I don't have the stinking thinking. I still have stinking thinking. I still want to run over a Volkswagen with my Lincoln. No, I really do. Yeah, because they're too little. That's what I think in my head.
But at least you don't act on it. And it's fine to have those thoughts. But like you said, when you don't give the power to the other person, that's what is a huge piece of things that we need to realize to make sure that we have the power. And one more thing that I want to add to what you just said is we are the gatekeepers of our mind. So, think about a guard standing at a gate. If you're just letting all these, people in and negative thoughts just infiltrate, the core, your mind, your heart, then it's going to turn rotten. And, people are just going to go in and do whatever it is that they want. But when you say, you know what, I hold the power, halt, stay right there, you're not coming in. That is when we can start to hold the power. And then we give ourselves the chance to really repair what's going on the inside. Because if it's not being flooded with negativity, it'll start to fix it and work itself out. And we have those practices to do that. Now, I kind of want to talk about that first instance kind of like that first instance, or when you had that awareness to make sure that, like you just said, you had the power. So was it one instance, or was it just, did you wake up and have an aha moment to say, I have the power? Or how did you come to that realization?
Well, it's been a transition over time. It's not like being on the 7-day, 7-night challenge. I'm on it every day of my life now, but there are things that people say and do that, in my old learned behavior, I could feel it inside of me, it kind of welling up, and I'm going, that, in my brain, I'm going, wait a minute, that's not mine. None of that stuff is mine. None of what they create that comes out of their mouth in the form of words is sound. None of that sound belongs to me. None of the sound has ever belonged to me my whole life. Everything I've seen and heard, everything that I've heard is 30% of who I am. That's 30% of communication. Light that enters my eyes, that's 70% nonverbal communication, 70% of who I am. So if you take your life and you take 70% of 50 or 60, you can figure out how many years you've lived your life learning by watching people, you know. So
Wow.
yeah, well, and then 30% is words as energy, you know. And I thought, well, I'm reacting to the words all the time. All the time I'm reacting to them. And I thought, what am I going to do with that? What? Well, they're irritating. Well, I got to stop and I got to think, where do they come from? Where do those words really originate from? Oh, they originated from Dano's brain. He made them up in his brain. It's his thinking. It's his thoughts. Wait. He then put his thoughts and his words and his actions out of his mouth in the form of sound, and I hear them. Just because I hear them doesn't mean I got to become them. But that's what I learned. I totally believed. See, that's where the power lives. People think, oh, we got to get that guy to shut up. We got to get that guy's mouth to stop running. We got to get that guy to behave better. They all focus on the mouth of the person that's calling the name. And I'm saying, no, 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 no. That's not where the power is. We can't stop. If that's where the power was, Dano, I'd carry around duct tape.
And what? And
no, I would walk over and duct tape their mouth shut.
Oh, yeah, get to the source of it, right? And
you get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? Yeah, but the power don't live there. See, otherwise I'd run out of duct tape and they'd rip the tape off and they'd keep going. I'd go, oh my God, I can't shut people up. And it's not right for me to try. So what can I do? Oh, I got to process the energy inside my mind, slow it down, and then make some choices as to who it belongs to. It never belonged to me.
Yeah,
ever.
And another thing too is a lot of people don't know, or maybe they're not conscious of it just yet. Is the best way I can describe it is what you're saying is that, you know, it starts from the outside, it goes in, you process it, then you just give it right back to what's going on. But a lot of people don't understand that, yes, it comes from within you. You have the control of everything, and you can only focus on what you can control. So what you were saying, you can't control what other people say about you. You can't control how they say it, or you can't control their actions. But when you start to focus on what you can control and how you can respond or be responsive to, like you were saying before, that's where the power is held. And I just want to talk about a few comments that I see on here, because you guys are lighting it up. My positivity posse, you guys are doing a great job. And thank you, Scary. Look, you're waking us up right now. So Scary, or Jeanette says, exactly, don't become that. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you Scary, Jeanette. Scary is right there with us right now live. Jeanette, that feeling, be conscious of it, process it, then move on. Learn not to react to that negativity 1,000%. We have Beatrice here. Gosh, I wish our politicians would take an example of his wisdom. Yeah, in a perfect world, right? Little agrees with you over here. He says, so true. And there was one more comment here. Football is back. So, yeah, and if that's where you get your excitement and your power from, just make sure you're not getting it from the external. Just, you know, always just make sure we have the control of that power as well. Last one right here. The power is within you. Yes, 1,000%. And Scary, man, like I said, we could talk about this until we're blue in the face. But when it comes to different practices that you like to, you know, that you've come up with, that you've designed yourself, verbatim, you say that you have the steps for exactly what to do with negative words and actions from another human. So can you explain the steps? Let's take this. We're going to do a live example of what your steps are, what you do when you hear somebody say something or do something negative towards you. So you ready to get your role play on right now?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Ready? So let's, off the top, Scary, your tattoos absolutely suck. And I don't know why anybody would go for you to get artwork on their body. So let's just say if it was something like that, what's going on in your mind when people, you know, say these negative things to you? What are the steps that you've come up with?
Well, today it's much different because I've been around it for so long now. And when I walk into a room today, you know, after 26 years of learning how to be the way I am now, I already know that when you open your mouth, you represent you, period. everybody in the room. I mean, I'm reading, if there's 5,000 people in a room, I can tell you where the anger is. I could tell you where the hurt is. I could tell you where the frustration is. I could tell you where the self-harming is. I can read people and their body language like a book. Like most people read books. I don't read. I don't read and write. I'm dyslexic. I've never read a book my whole life.
Wow.
So I learned how to read people and how they and when they speak, guess what? They probably don't know it, but they represent themselves. And that's what I see every time you open your mouth. You know, if you're speaking that way, there's something wrong with you. If you're calling me a name, you've got a problem right away. And it's not mine. It doesn't belong to me. It never has. None of my past that anybody said to me, all those words, all the rotten, even my mom and dad, when they would say something to me, none of that ever truly belonged to me. It was about them. They opened their mouth. They created it. Now, did it cause me some problem? Yeah. I ran my mouth for 43 years because I learned that's how you do it. And I'm not saying it's right, but I had to learn how to leave that and not be part of it anymore because I was just contributing to the negative seed.
100%.
So I would, once I learned that, I would separate people. I'd always see two people in the room. I would see two people, not one. Yeah, it's like right now, Dano, I see two of you. I visually, in my mind, I visualize two images of the Dano, the great TV guy, right there in front of me.
Wow.
I see, yep, there's a split image of you sitting right there. And I see, the first thing I see is the physical person. When you walk in the room, I see, Dano, hey, you're pretty hip looking. I like your shirt. I like the way you comb your hair. I love you got a great smile. I see all the positive attributes, and that's a person. And that's what I see first. The very first thing I see is people. I always see people first. And then I love them. I think all people are really cool in some way, shape, or form. I see the positive in them, like I'm seeing it in you. You know, you're really a positive guy. You know, you smile. You're contagious, dude. Your positivity is contagious, and
thank you.
that's what I see first. I always see the person first, and then I split them into two. So, what is the second thing you think I see?
You see their soul next.
Well, you could call it a soul. You could call it a soul, but I see what they do. Their behavior. That's called behavior. What they do is second, not first. Most people see what they do as first. And then they say, oh, I don't like that, so that person's a rotten human being. That's what they make an assessment. They judge people automatically based on what they do. No, that person, here's an example of what I'm talking about. I was in Tucson, Arizona, driving my Lincoln down the road one morning. In a car in front of me, there was a young man driving the car, and every stoplight or every stop sign, and I was behind him with my assistant, my tattoo assistant on the right side. I was behind him, and he'd stop at the stop sign, and he'd open his driver's side door, and he'd lean his head out the door and puke. He'd puke his guts up on the street. And I go, look at that. And well, my natural instinct at the time, being who I was, I'd say, look at that loser. What a loser. What an idiot. What a jerk. He's puking every stop sign. A guy, if he learned how to drink right, he probably wouldn't be like that, see? Well, here I get back to work, and I find out this guy, I knew who he was, but I didn't know what was going on with him. Here to find out the guy just had a chemotherapy treatment, and he just came from the hospital. And I'm going, yeah, wait. I'm going, oh my God, here I am finding fault with a dude that's dying of cancer, having to go through chemotherapy. He's sicker than a dog, and I'm judging the guy because I'm not processing what's going on around me. So I'm automatically doing it.
And we are all that way too. So thank you so much for sharing that story, because I can only think about the times that I've done that and not know what was actually going on during that person's life. So thank you so much for sharing that. And here we go. I mean, we've all done it before. That's terrible. Yeah, hopefully the guy's okay. But, you know, that's such a big thing too. You never know what somebody is going through in their life. And I want to say two things really quick. Number one, Sorry, I didn't mean to lose the challenge already. I was just giving an example when I was saying the tattoo thing.
No,
Thank you
an
for not giving-
example, like, no, we're role playing, and examples are fine.
Yeah, role
And-
play. But like I said, these are some of the things that people might say to you, or maybe not, behind your back. But at any rate, like you said, you don't have to give that the power. You don't give them the power as well. And I'm pretty sure your tattoos are absolutely amazing. And maybe one day in the future, I can go to get one done by you as well, because that's what Beatrice is saying here. She says, love his tattoos. He's encouraging you to get a few more. Perhaps he can tattoo you. And yeah, so we got to kind of keep moving on, Scary, but that was a fantastic, amazing story. Thank you for sharing that, because we all do it, and it's just nice to hold ourselves accountable to that as well. Scary, what if somebody wanted to get in contact with you in the future, or maybe they want to know about future events, or maybe they want to book you? What kind of future events do you have going on that we can get hyped about and looking forward to?
Well, unfortunately, as you well know, because of COVID-19, that kind of killed my in-person visits, my training. But I'm starting to gear back up again. And like I said, I'm going to be speaking to and training, actually. I call it training more than speaking. 600, they call them head teachers here in America. It's principals, Can you imagine standing on a stage for 90 minutes trying to take 600 leaders of schools all over the United Kingdom, and I do the same thing in the US, and take them from reacting to situations in their lives to learning how to be responsive. And I only got 90 minutes, it's like, whoa, that's a lot of brain power. And I got to convince those people that they're even, number one, that they're involved in that negative flow, and people, even though they're positive, I'm still involved in the negative. It's just in here, it doesn't come out of here. And look at this one, see that right there, Dano? That's one of those no symbols. Yeah, it's on my knuckle.
Wow.
Why? It's on my knuckle because I when I changed my life, I said, all right, no more fists. That's it. No more violence. No more negative, because it's all an act of violence. All my words can be violent. My threats, my physical actions, my fists, that's a weapon. That's a violence. All right, no more violence. No more fists. Nothing. That's
and
it.
we all need to adopt that. So maybe if that's what the next person needs is a tattoo, or just maybe a sticky note on their bathroom mirror to really reinforce that into us that, we don't need more violence in this world. It all starts within ourselves. And if everybody were to adopt that model, then we would have a much better place in this world as well. And, like I said, I really want to reiterate it because I see a few comments, and I just really appreciate you talking about that story as well that you mentioned earlier, because we can all relate to that. And we all have had those experiences as well. And like you said, it's that degree of honesty and holding ourselves accountable. If we are being that negative person, that we have the power to change that at the snap of a finger or at the drop of a hat as well. So Scary, we always wrap up the show the same time, every single show, and it's always with the same question. And I couldn't think of a more perfect person to ask this question to than you. So it's with a great honor that I'm going to ask you this question. So, drum roll, everybody, please. I guess that's literal, but you know what I mean. If there's somebody watching right now that's going through their darkest times or maybe their hardest moments, what advice would you have to give to these people that are watching, maybe it's live or on the replay or one of their friends, to get out of these dark moments and these kind of troubling times?
Well, I'll go back to what I said in the beginning. The number one is split all people into two pictures, two images. Everybody in the room is two, not just one. The first image is the physical person, and with that image, I love them. They're people first. Their actions that come out of their mouth, I look at second. So with that philosophy alone, guess what? I can love all people, and I don't have to become what they produce or what they say. That's them. And none of it belongs to me. It never has belonged to me. And the power that I have today, I create my own world peace. I've been walking in my own world peace, and that's inside my brain. I hate to tell you that, everyone. The earth is here, yes, but it's not mine. This is mine, and I am in charge of this. I walk through all of the flow of the negative, and I walk in my own world peace every day. You can call me what you want, and then you just representing yourself. I can hear it. Even if you use my name in the sentence, guess what? It's a reflection of you and your behavior. It has nothing to do with me, and I can still love you as a human being. There you go.
Boom, drop the mic right there. So, if everything that I say is a reflection of myself, Scary, I think you're the most handsomest, most talented, beautiful, smartest. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, your laughter too, and your presence, and everything that you had to go through to get you where you are today has been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for spreading the positive world that we need now more than ever in this world, because everything is divided, and we are coming together to help other people come together. And if you could do it for one person, you could do it for two. If you can do it for 2, you can do it for 10, and then it just starts that chain reaction. But Scary, you are absolutely the man. This is one of my favorite episodes that I've ever had, and I'm not just saying that just because you're on or everybody's watching. I really love your message. I can resonate with it, and my positivity posse are just giving you your credits. We said, let's go. Thank you, Scary. Scary, thank you for an amazing experience, and your story, absolutely amazing. And who would have thought, right? That's why you should never judge a book by its cover, because you might find the greatest things in the places that you might least expect it. So, Scary, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, where can they find you at?
Well, probably the most effective way to reach out to me is through Facebook. I hate to say that, but Facebook, man, I got like 7 or 8 pages. There's a whole bunch of fan pages created about me, but just Google or Facebook The Scary Guy, and you'll see my fan page. There's only 81,000 people that follow me on one of the pages. It used to be a lot more than that, but because I'm not out, speaking publicly as much as I used to, I had 150,000 people follow me at one time. But I'd say
Wow.
Facebook, or you could even email me. There's my tag, thescaryguy.com, scaryguy@thescaryguy.com. You can email me. You could call me. My phone number is public. You know what am I hiding? There's nothing I can hide. I'm living my life right on the line, openly, like you, dude. You're honest, you're truthful, you're living it on the line. Now you're putting it on the line, which I think is really admirable, and you're bringing it out in a really cool way. I love your style. I want to find out where you live so I can come and hang out with you. That's how I feel about you.
Let's do it. Let's do it. When you got 2 people that are spreading the positive vibes, you already know it's going to be a great time. And it's like you said, when you understand that everything that goes on is positive and great and truthful and honest on your inside world, the outside world is just going to be a reflection of that. And please let this episode serve as that example that we can find the great people out there in the world. And even if you don't think that you can be that person, and you will start to attract the great things in your life due to the great vibrations and the great energy that me, Scary, and you, part of the Positivity Posse, can emit into the universe as well. And Beatrice wants to hang out with us, Scary. Is she allowed to come? I know she woke up earlier to wake you up out of bed. Is she allowed to come with us and hang out?
I'll hang out with B anytime. She rocks. I love her. Even though she's in Chicago, I love Chicago, but it's got some troubles going on, like she said, with the politicians and all the different cities, and we got to wake some of those people up too. They walk around their whole lives with closed minds. I don't care if they're even 70, 80 years old, they're a politician. There's a lot of closed minds, and it's so rigid in their thinking. You and I and B and all of us got to hit the road, and we got to get out there with love and compassion in our heart and wake them up. Say, hey, look, wait, somebody's got to start the process. And you being, in a Senate seat or a representative or whatever politician you are, guess what? You can make a change. You could shift the world with your energy. Let's do it. Let's
go. Let's do it. And that's official, everybody. We're going to vote for Scary for Prime Minister. So there it is. There's his official election, his official declaration. No, I'm just kidding. But man, seriously, thank you so much for being here today, waking up out of your sleep to come and share your positive messaging. Beatrice, thank you for the connection to my Positivity Posse. Thank you guys for lighting it up in the comment section. And you guys are more than welcome to join us in our adventures as well. But I'm just right outside of Philly, just to let you know. So we'll make it happen. If I got to go over there, you got to come over here. We're going to make it happen. And everybody, come back next week because we have Todd Frace coming on to talk about the importance of recycling, because I know not a lot of people know about that. We're going to be learning a lot together, but I'm just so grateful for my Positivity Posse. Thank you guys so much. Grateful for B, and most importantly for today at this moment in time. Scary, I'm ultra thankful for you, and thank you so much for being on here today. So everybody, have a great weekend. Actually, Scary, stay for a few minutes after because I just want to talk to you about a few things. But everybody else, have a safe weekend. I hope you have a lot of fun this weekend. Be safe, be truthful, be honest. And remember, don't let other people have the power over you as well. Scary, any final thoughts?
Just a 7-day, 7-night challenge, man. You got to get that out there and listen. Just get on the challenge and then stick on it. If you make a mistake, admit you made a mistake. Say your amends. Get on with your life and start the challenge over. I want 7 in a row, Dano. 7 in a row.
I'm starting again now because 10 minutes ago I messed up, even though it was for the exercise. But we're starting right now going forward, and I'll see you guys next week to check in how your 7-day and 7 nights are going here on Weekly Dose of Dano. Thank you, Scary, and thank you to my Positivity Posse. I'll see you next week. Peace.